Good evening, Julien here from beautiful Canggu, Bali. And we're back at Tropical Nomad, probably the best place in the world maybe to work from. A lot of smart people here right in Canggu. And you can find this on the digital nomad list, I think on the nomadlist.org or something it's called. It's usually mentioned Canggu as one of the best places for expats in the world, number 1 or number 2. And we talked a lot about Bali last night, and I hope you got to see the project. If you still have any questions about last night, about waste treatment in Bali and Southeast Asia over time, please feel free to reach out to us. We're going to have a super exciting program tonight with us, and we're going to finish with our good friend Robert Ian Bonnick, who's such an inspirational speaker and change maker. So I think it's definitely worth it to stay with us till the very end of the program. But let's go to Oliver. What do we have coming up in the next few days so our viewers can mark those dates?
We're going to be pushing exventure Israel back to get even more exciting companies because we had some last minute signups. So December 3rd is going to be replaced for exventure Israel, just to pull in possibly one on tonight and then a couple of others really incredible technologies that are coming out of there. And then we're going to be showcasing exventure US as well. And obviously last night's event was phenomenal, looking really into the waste problem specifically here in Bali. We could bring on Thomas just to double check that he's online right now. I can pull that up and then you can give a bit of background on understanding how much venture capital has been raised in the last quarter in the US. It's around 63 billion.
Yeah, it's actually really, really getting big. Definitely a lot of money going into innovation right now. I think we live in highly disruptive times. We see it here every single day, how many more people are moving out of these big technology centers like Silicon Valley, like New York, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and they're trying to find places like ours here just to have a much higher quality of life. And almost $70 billion being invested in venture capital so far this year. So despite a huge economic slowdown and such a turbulent time, it just keeps getting really, really interesting and more capital pouring in. We're still waiting for Thomas here. Also was an exciting week for us because we learned something and we had a lot of fun. At the same time, we talked about a new venture we started called Senses, and senses from like the senses that you have, smell and everything else. And we did an incredible event last week. And it became kind of like the best party in town. We don't really have the COVID issue here. We're going to show you some footage later in this program. But I think it's also a great example from a business perspective because we have so many entrepreneurs around us and that we talk to, and they're working for years on their apps and their products and everything else. But what they're lacking is kind of a proof of concept. They don't know if the audience actually will like that product, if they're solving an issue, or are people going to be excited about it? And we figured out with Senses. I had this idea about putting on a real show because that has been a little bit low in Bali for the last few months, obviously during COVID. And we put on like a really awesome live show, and it turned out that other people were as bored as we were. But we didn't go out and build a restaurant, purchase the property, train the staff and spend $2 million in building a restaurant. We cooperated with our good friend Itchy here. We just put it on. And now we know that other people are just as bored as we are. And they came out in droves last week. So we're going to come back to that later, is how to build a luxury lifestyle brand without spending a dime on it. We were actually profitable from day number 1. Not huge amounts of money, but definitely much better than what we usually have, where you might be standing to lose money for the first few years. But let's move on to, I got Thomas with us. I think your microphone is still on mute. Thomas? There
Hi,
you
everyone.
are. Let me check if we have a good audio connection. Felix? I don't hear him yet. Thomas, can you say something?
Yeah. Hi.
No, perfect. Where are you joining us from?
Joining you from Vilnius, Lithuania.
From Ukraine, sorry?
Vilnius, Lithuania.
Lithuania. Okay. All right. Close to my tax residency in Latvia.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Lithuania, for people in the US, mainly a small country in Northern Europe, the most southern one of the Baltic countries, right? Am I totally confused there?
That
yes?
is very correct.
How many people do you have?
Close to 3 million right now, plus around estimated 500,000 in expats.
Okay. It's a very innovative little place. I remember years back I spoke at a panel with with the president of Estonia back then, which is the neighboring country, and he told us a joke about how he went to China for the first time, and they asked him, how many inhabitants do you have? And he said about 2.5 million. And so the Chinese asked him, why didn't you bring them along? You know, it's more like a private club, as he said, than really a country. Thomas, tell us about something. What do you do?
So I'm a principal at Contrarian Ventures. So we're an early stage venture capital fund investing in the sustainable energy transition.
Excellent. And how big is the fund? Kind of, as I have an idea?
So the first fund is 12.5 million. We're investing in the seed stage mostly, with tickets initially up to 500,000 plus another 500,000 for follow-on investment reserve.
Oh, really cool. And you mainly invest in Lithuania at this point, or what's your key focus?
No. So our geographical focus is Europe plus Israel. So we have companies that we invested in Norway, in a lot in UK, France, Estonia, Lithuania, Israel. So
awesome. I
mean, spread out.
Really, the Northern Europe really is, I find, a big innovation hotbed. I mean, you have a lot of good startups coming out of Sweden, but also, as you said, Lithuania, Estonia. It's a lot of innovation going on there. Why do you think these countries are so innovative and produce that many interesting startups? Basically,
I think one is to do that when a small country, you need to sort of specialize in some things. So I think Lithuania was able to sort of lead in terms of becoming one of the top fintech hubs. I think Estonia had sort of a head start because after the breakup with the Soviet Union, they immediately decided they're going to replace all the legacy, government people and placed a lot of young, forward-thinking individuals there who recognized the importance of developing an ecosystem where technology innovation can thrive.
Excellent. And if you're a startup in Lithuania right now, what is your general path? I mean, you go out for angel investors. Is there a venture capital infrastructure already, or are you building this kind of from the scratch right now?
So there's already, I guess, an ecosystem that started, especially for early stage companies. So there's a bunch of equity pre-financing subsidies in terms of R&D and tech development available, plus already a growing community of business angels who can leverage their investment with instruments specially geared for them. Then we have quite a few in terms of our market size, early stage venture capital funds, mostly focusing on seed Series A stages. And then we sort of have a gap, and then we have infrastructure funds and PE. So yeah, for early stage, quite a few instruments and tools to get these companies started, and then most of them just once they grow out, of course, they expand outside of the immediate, Nordic European market. They look for international funding.
Yeah,
mainly Western Europe, potentially US.
How important do you see the role also of government grants, incentives? I know that we work a lot with European Union grants, Horizon 2020, for example. They always love to work with the Baltic countries because of the rather low level of corruption and actually delivering on things. Is that like a tool that you guys use as well?
Well, I think the main thing is that the country sort of looks at it from a top-down perspective. So they want to have a country where there's a lot of development talent available, a lot of growth talent being fostered. So they sort of look at it at an ecosystem level. So the grants are an important starting point, how to get people who, for example, develop technologies in university and get them to not get stuck, in the academic cycle and try to use that technology, take it out and bring it to the world into a commercial phase. Yeah. So they're quite important in that initial phase, of course. There are a few instruments that utilize the availability of tech talent in Lithuania, for example, to to establish like an outsourcing center or a remote development base in Lithuania. So this has sort of been happening more and more as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of that ourselves with Latvia, with Estonia, where we have engineering teams, for example, that we hire in, because so the cost of labor is a lot cheaper than it is in Germany, and a lot of very smart people, as you say, coming out of university and special engineering and everything else. What is your key investment focus? What are the technologies that you are most interested in to invest yourself?
So yeah, as I mentioned, the strategy is focused on the sustainable energy transition. So we take quite a broad view, but it has to have the electron in focus. So our portfolio companies range from automating infrastructure inspection to producing hydrogen in a sustainable way, to energy storage solutions, to IoT and energy efficiency. So quite broad base of technologies. Of course, we like companies that leverage more of a software side, but most of our companies actually have hardware that enables the transition to a software model.
No, it's great to see. I mean, we all like businesses that are a little bit more on the software and platform side, right? Keeping it a little bit lighter on the asset side of things than just purely developing hardware. Are you open right now for additional investments, or are you tapped out?
Yes. So from the first fund, we are planning to add around 5 more companies to the portfolio, to the existing 17. And then end of next year, we're planning to close our second fund, which will be around 50 million euros. We'll have the same focus, same stage, except that larger initial and follow-on tickets, so that we could always have the option to lead around, because that's how we see we add the most benefit to the company.
Fantastic. I'm actually super excited to meet you. We get, especially out of this geographic region, we get very innovative companies. We had Geyser batteries on there, for example, which you might know. We had Lava, a company in LED space that came out of it. Super interesting stuff. I would say 2 out of the top 20 companies we have seen in the last few months. And we see about 100 deals per month generally, and we present about 40. Came out of this area, right? So really, really cool stuff coming out of it. What is the best way to get in contact with you, and what is the process if I want to become a portfolio company of yours?
So best way is either email us directly or reach us out through LinkedIn. We actually answer to everyone. The process is fairly straightforward. We start talking to a company, take about 2 weeks to get an initial 360 on the diligence. So talking to the founders, talking to a few key members of the team, talking to customers, talking to existing investors if there are any, talking to competitors. Then that leads either to a yes or a no. A yes means a term sheet, so that usually takes up to a week to negotiate. And then we move in through the full doc preparation, developing OKRs and milestones for the round, and then doing basic legal due diligence, which takes up to a month, sometimes longer, but we try to close fast so that we can start with the development of the company.
Really awesome, and I'm really glad that we're able to connect via this platform. I said we get a lot of really cool seed companies, especially onto this program, that don't really know where to start yet, and would love to kind of pass some of them on to you, have a look at it. Maybe there's a match in there for you. Thomas, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and maybe we have some good companies for you. If you need any co-investors as well. We are very, very happy to connect you with other ones that can go along in a seed round or a growth round. I think it'll be very beneficial for everyone involved.
Fantastic. Couldn't agree more.
Right. Thank you, Thomas. Have a great day to Lithuania. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye.
And Oliver, we're going to share the information, obviously, also on our website. Also, a quick insight, please, if you want to see more of this content. And you are watching on YouTube. Our big following is on LinkedIn, but some people are watching us on YouTube as well. Subscribe to this channel. Unfortunately, we cannot do that on LinkedIn. But on LinkedIn, you can be sure that you're going to get updates from us at the end of this event. and we're going to keep notice about all the other cool companies coming on the program. And this was already a total winner to get started. We need more investors. So much going on though, and it's incredible to see for a little bit older gentlemen like myself how this venture capital space in Europe is developing. When we did our first raise 2006, there was almost nothing out there. There was like 2-3 funds in Germany. And now, the infrastructure is really growing almost on a daily basis. And I think there's also consensus that we will need these growth companies in order to innovate in the future. We cannot do it alone on like banking big car companies that might already have business models that, at least to myself, seem terribly outdated, and I can't envision them being around 20 years from now unless they're going to heavily innovate and change everything about themselves. But that's not easy to do if you have such a big size already. Oliver, what are we going to do next?
We have about 5 minutes until we get joined from Warsaw, but staying on the VC aspect, it's quite interesting, and I really liked hearing his ticket size, because the 500,000 seed investment is quite a unique one, especially from a VC side. And the space that he's looking to invest in, as you've said, we've seen a lot of companies come on board that aren't necessarily there in terms of bringing on a 2 to 5 million raise. So a 500,000 ticket size is quite an interesting one. And we have about a couple of minutes until Christoph joins us from Warsaw.
Okay, it's also a difficult ticket size. We just discussed this outside with the Itchy as we're looking into kind of like a small distressed property fund here in Bali. Obviously, Corona has been devastating to the local economy, but obviously there are also a lot of opportunities out there right now. But I wouldn't really know, maybe not my expertise of where to go if you're looking to raise 500,000 for a startup. It seems such a small ticket size, but it can make such a huge difference in the early stage of a business, especially if the capability is to kind of leverage that with government money, as we have in the past. So, if you're in Europe, if you're in Germany, if you're in Singapore, you can turn that, 500,000 maybe to 2 million or 3 million in, services and engineering services and tests and everything else that you might need to bring your product to market. So this is really, really a big jump forward. Oliver, what is your take on that right now? What have we learned? We should make a small list of all the really early stage funds we have talked, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing on the platform. It's finding the niches that are there that need to be bridged, and finding the investors and pairing them with the right startups. A lot of startups are in that bracket, but not so many investors. And it's been really exciting to find and secure sort of partnerships with those investors, exactly like we've seen there. And also sort of putting together quite a niche investment market on the Israeli side. It was interesting to hear him add the Europe plus Israel. And just the fact that we're going to be showcasing the exventure Israel night on December 3rd is really exciting to be able to specifically offer opportunities, because companies like Brightmerge, who are going to be showcased, are exactly within his wheelhouse. A software system that has traction but requires a certain amount of capital to be closed on their first round. So it's perfect.
No, it's definitely. We should also make a list of, I don't remember. How many startups have we talked to at this point? 150 maybe?
250.
250, okay.
Yeah.
Just to make a list where they all come from, because we had a very strong Canadian dominance there for a while, and I think it's going to come back. So the last weeks, our focus has been very heavily on Israel, but we have gotten a lot of good companies coming out of the European Nordics in general. And obviously Germany is like a little bit our home market. So, I don't know if it's because there's so many innovative companies or just because we know the market so well that it's easy for us to reach. But if you're a startup out there, no matter where you are, we want to hear from you. We're also really looking for some African startups. We're very, very weak on that. Also Southeast Asia, even though we do spend a lot of time here in Southeast Asia, I don't mean, Americans who live like us in Bali, but like more local startups that are solving local problems, and that might be, really close to the ground and need some support there, where it's very tough in those markets to find capital for your startup. So if you come from any of these places, please reach out to us. But of course, we'd like to talk to Poland as well. We got two gentlemen, Christoph and Piotr. Nice to meet you.
Hello,
nice to meet you too.
And Marek is joining us as well. Awesome. So you guys are joining us from Warsaw, is that correct?
Not from Warsaw, we are from Gdańsk, so the city at the sea, at the Polish Baltic Sea.
Nice.
Really nice place, even now.
It's a little bit nicer in the summer though, at least in my.
Yeah, for sure.
It gets a little bit dark. It gets a little bit dark in the winter.
That's right.
Cool. Give us a quick introduction. What do you guys do?
We are both co-founders at StyleFact, two co-founders from four co-founders at StyleFact. We've got a startup which is a marketplace solution which connects two worlds of the social media and e-commerce. So on our platform you will find the features like on the social media, so you can behave like you are doing it right now, but we are giving the possibility to make the transaction at the same time at the same place. So it's a unique, in our opinion, unique new way, and to join to the new world.
Cool. So do you by any chance have like a screenshot, something like this we can share with us? Oliver will have to. So give us a little bit better of a feeling of how this works. It's not necessary. Just if you have spontaneously something available.
Yes, we can explain how does it work, and we've got some presentation. Maybe we can share presentation if you want.
Absolutely. If you have a few slides for us. I mean, I think it's a little bit tough to grasp what you guys are doing, and for some reason I have a feeling that whatever. I mean, I just look at you guys' suits. We're not used to that anymore. That if you guys design something, it probably looks really awesome. That's my feeling. Okay. Very spontaneous. I don't have any idea what you guys are doing.
Okay, so maybe I will share one graph, and maybe I will tell a little bit more about our
and maybe Christoph, you can tell us a little something like what kind of phase your company is in. Early adopter, what phase are you in right now, and are you raising capital?
I don't hear you too well. The quality isn't perfect. Could you repeat?
My question is while you're looking for the slides, what kind of phase is your company in, and are you looking for investors right now to support your growth?
Yeah. Yes, right now we've got the solution totally ready. So we've got an MVP. And we are before the commercialization, and we are looking for the partner right now who would help us, as I said, to make the commercialization of our platform. And the perfect it would be if the partner investor would be a famous person as well, not only to have the money to invest, but if it was, for example, some celebrity, a sportsman, or some actor, it would be great. But the second variant is someone who is a owner of some big e-store. It would be the best if it was multi-brand e-shop, because we are solving the problems of those of e-commerce, because our platform, why we started that, we solving free problems of free sites, free beneficiaries of our platform, influencers, advertisers, and buyers. And thanks to our platforms, influencer can monetize their followers databases, because we realized that when we were analyzing the social media that a lot of influencers do not monetize their databases. So we spoke with one girl which is big influencer in Poland, 350 followers. So it's not the huge one, but it's quite big. But she's not earning only money from that, and mainly she gets a lot of products from the advertisers who wants to cooperate with her, and that's her problem. That she needs to work not only as an influencer. So that's a real problem. For advertisers, has different problem which we are solving. They are investing every year more and more money for the marketing, online marketing campaigns, but at the same time they are losing more and more money. And the statistics says that $35 billion they have lost in 2018, and the forecast says that it will be much more. And why they are losing those money? They are losing because of the ad fraud, which is very common right now. Yeah. For example, if you would like to, as an advertiser, to promote your products on the internet, nowadays you are mainly going to the influencers agency, which is suggesting you some influencers. And let's assume they suggest you that the influencer, which has got 1 million followers, so quite big, and you are paying for such influencer. So, but the real database of the followers it's not 1 million. It's maybe 30% of that, because they have built their database. Buying, for example, database on the AliExpress or different place. So it's a huge problem for the advertisers. And
no, I totally get it. Can you show us a little bit more about your product? Because I said my wife is strong on Instagram, right? I'm a proven example that nobody cares about middle-aged gray hair guys on Instagram. So I'm just doing this for my own pleasure. Okay. But obviously, if this would be like email lists or something that we would drive a much more precise return on investment on those kind of databases. So very interesting to see is how you make it easy for Instagrammers, for example, to sell their products, because many of them, we live in Bali, right? Everybody here is either a coach or an influencer. But they're usually not very technical. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to get daily content. But kind of their sales platforms needs to be rather simple, because I mean they produce that much content a day is a lot of work. So they're often not very technical, not very smart about commercializing on their following. I see the problem.
Yeah, we've created our solution is we created the platform where the influencer can create posts like exactly in the same method like influencer nowadays doing it on other social media platforms, so Instagram, Facebook, and for example Pinterest. So your influencer is taking picture, and he's able to tag the products on this post. Mm-hmm. And advertiser, if noticed that the products which are tagged on the post of the influencer are in his offer of his e-store, he can propose to attach the link to his product to his shop, of course. And when he is proposing that, additionally, he defining the conditions. I'm speaking the conditions which tell how much influencer will earn in case of the sale of those products from these links. Mm-hmm. And if influencer accept the conditions, at the same time, automatically the online agreement is establishing between those sites. And if the follower of the influencer will buy that product from his link, he will get the simply commission. That's the core model of our application. And there is a second model which can be very interesting for the advertisers and influencers, because in the second process, advertiser can create the campaign on our platform, and where advertiser can define what products and other conditions of the campaign, and who has the access to those campaign. And if the influencer fulfill the conditions of access to the campaign, the campaign immediately shows on his mobile phone that you can cooperate with for example Nike or other brand which will be on our platform. And when he accepts that, he can make his everyday regular work. So share the posts, and using the products which are on the which are in the scope of the campaign. And the same, if the buyer will buy something from this link, he will get the commission. So it's very simple.
Very cool.
And you were asking about technical thing as well. Our platform is very similar to the Instagram. We wanted to be sure that the influencer will be able very easily to perform any actions on our product. So we assume that nowadays influencers know very well Instagram, so that's why we are very similar on the interface.
I think this is actually very, very interesting, and I don't know much about us, but we live in Bali here, and Bali, I think it's one of the hubs in the world with everybody is an influencer, right? We have all the Russian influencers here. I mean, every second person you see, that's why people are so hot when they look at my parties, because everybody has 900,000 followers, 600,000 followers. Even my wife has 25,000 followers, and she's not even called an influencer here. So does this platform work already? I mean, could we do a trial on this thing and see if it works for our friends?
Yeah, that's work. That's completely finished. So it's working. We are it's tested on our side, but there is a small problem with a proof of concept, because we don't want to lose. We want to start from. We want to make a big start, I would say. So we need the campaign, which costs a lot. That's why we need the partner. We need the investor who will help us to attract a lot of users, because the success will be if there will be a lot of advertisers, a lot of influencers, and of course buyers. So we've got everything planned, campaign, communications planned. We've got analysts in scope of tax and law. Product is 100% finished, but we are waiting with the start. We don't want a small start. We want to start.
I generally, from my feedback in this, we're just recording a class and a course on how to raise money for startups. One of the things I always like to do is that as an investor, not only me but many investors, we like to see at least a little bit of revenue, like a little bit proof of concept. So in your position, I would not totally roam out the chance of doing maybe a small field test before and just simply see if people get excited about it. I think can really, really help before you put big money behind it. It also is going to make it easier for you guys to get a better deal from that investor, right? If you can show we have really targeted this in a very small niche market and people had to get some referrals on this, get some people, some influencer talking about your platform as well, I think it can, I would not totally say no to that. I think it could be a good step forward, because raising money for a marketing campaign is not always easy, right? If there are no existing users yet, because you're pretty much going to burn your money through Facebook ads and all this kind of things very quickly. But I do understand you need to have enough influencers and enough deals on the platform in order to be viable, right? That's the challenge you're facing right now, correctly?
Yeah. Of course, we are thinking we don't want to start, but from small numbers. But of course, we've got on our head the second variant, which you are talking about, to make the small proof of concept on the market, because it will be much easier to speak with the potential investors then. So yes, we are considering considering that.
Let's talk about maybe do a small trial here. I said I invite 40 influencers to my next party, and we're going to do a small deal and see if they take it and if it works. Gets you a bunch of really hot people afterwards talking about it, because I can tell you right now, every influencer out here, and I call many of them really my friends, they are looking for any additional way to make, get good deals in. They're really suffering from COVID. They can't travel. Of course, their life has gotten a lot less exciting over the last year. And a lot of them are stranded here.
Yeah, if you can help us in that scope, it would be great. Yeah, we can make the.
Could be interesting. I mean, I'm very spontaneous. We also, what kind of money are you looking for right now to when you're talking about an investor to kind of kick off your campaign? What kind of ticket size are you talking about?
We are speaking about 700,000 euro. Because up to now we invested only our private money, the same amount, maybe more, about between 700 to up to 800,000 euro. So we invested our private money, and now we are looking for 700,000 euro as well from the investor. And as I said, it would be the best if someone can help us in the promotion, not only thanks to the money which he's got, but thanks to maybe his face, maybe someone famous.
Yeah, or just somebody with a lot of followers, and that can actually move people. Super interesting concept. If I want to reach out to you guys, what is the best way to reach you if I want to get involved with your product?
To catch us, you can write us to us on the LinkedIn or straight by mail or call us. So we are open for every communication channels.
Very, very interesting. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the program and sharing this with us. I do understand exactly what problem this is solving. And one of the things we like to talk about is, how we can solve problems. Your problem is obviously there that, influencers want to have a larger deal flow to advertise. It's a little bit like stock photography for photographers. Right? It's a market that was revolutionized a few years back. So you know that you can have access to a certain deal flow. And on the other hand, I see that a lot of social media money is just absolutely uselessly wasted on fake stats, bots, and everything else. So I think the advertisers will get more hesitant in the futures in paying for Instagram campaigns because it's just not working in so many cases anymore. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your input, and we're going to put all this information on our LinkedIn channel as well. And let's circle back maybe tomorrow and see if what solutions we can come up with. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. Have a great day on the Northern Baltics from Poland. Thank you guys so much. And please send us your deck to Oliver, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Really cool stuff. And again, it's something that's very close to home here in Bali because we have a lot of influencers. My feeling is, I don't know how many Russian influencers there in the world, but Oliver, it feels like they're all here, right? Every single one of them.
Pretty much. When you go around a corner, it's all you can see. I would have asked the question of what's the difference between what Instagram are offering, because they do currently offer exactly that. And then the traction of numbers of users that they need to get in the first year to be able to transition to a new platform, to give that influence, because the influence is number of users or members. And for someone to adopt a new platform and challenge Instagram, challenge Facebook, challenge all of these platforms that are out there.
But if I understood correctly, this is unlike other agencies, kind of like where you set your fee beforehand. This is a purely affiliate model, right? So you get a cut of the revenue that you create by people clicking through, and that is slightly different than what we have seen in the market so far. And I'm really not an expert. I bought this one projector, remember that? This one little crappy projector that never worked. I think it's the only thing I've ever bought of Instagram. But I'm also not the target clientele. I'm not 17 to 25, as much as I sometimes like to make myself believe that I am, but I'm really not. So how I react on Instagram doesn't really matter on a statistical level. But I do see the problem, and I see that there's a market for it, and we see a lot of this Instagrammers really, really struggling this year. I mean, their life depends on them doing exciting things every single day and sharing with everybody. And as our own kind of like circle of life, like I used to travel, 16 different countries a month, sometimes maybe 20. My last Google Maps showed that I've traveled all of 18 miles. So this has really reduced quite drastically. So sometimes we still go to the mountains or we go to the beach, but generally during, post-COVID or COVID or whichever phase we're in right now, we have gotten incredibly stationary. Oliver, what's next for us?
We should have Philip joining us from Berlin, from NeoFin, which is a fintech company. So moving from social marketing, financial and monetization across to a similar but more apparent market when he joins us. He's
Okay, cool.
scheduled to join any minute.
Yeah. Oliver, we have a little bit of time. Should we roll that interview we discussed this morning?
Yeah, the Ampere one.
From Ampere, because, and there again, we want to get your input and your help. We are putting together a course right now that kind of explains everything we have learned in the last 300 interviews we have done about fundraising and my own experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly of raising funds in many different countries for the last decade. And we see that there's a lot of need of information out there. Everybody's kind of in a different position, a different background, has different questions. So we're trying to put all of that kind of like 100 chapters into one online presentation right now. And then you can kind of go through it and just kind of use it as a how-to, right? So if you have a specific questions, there's probably a chapter that's going to answer it. If you have any questions to us about how to raise funds in any stage of your company, please put it up in LinkedIn, send us a message, send us an email, send us a WhatsApp. We would love to include that in our course. And one of the things we talk a lot about is in giving a successful presentation is kind of the concept of storytelling. Right? Zoom has made it so easy to get in the door and get those appointments, but it also can be tough to get really the attention from the other side. And so we're putting together this little example, and I want to show you my friend Kevin from a company called Ampere that was on our program and with myself and Remy de Tonac a few weeks ago. And I want you to see this incredible level of storytelling that gets you so engaged into the story of Ampere at a very, very early stage. And I think it's a great example. You're going to be using that for our internal course. Take the time. If you have any questions to us, drop us a message. We really appreciate it. So, Oliver, roll the tape and let's see what Kevin has to say. And we're still waiting for his video. He's probably just getting ready. It's like 7 a.m. in the morning. I know it's not your time of the day. Kevin, thank you for getting up so early. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the program.
See you, Julien. Thank you for having me.
Kevin, you're talking to Remy de Tonac of ETF Partners. I know you don't come to Europe that often anymore these days because you guys are super, super busy. But tell us a bit something about yourself, and then you can tell us about Ampere.
Wonderful. Well, I definitely want to tell you something that's awesome. It's best in class. It's second to none. It's the best thing since sliced bread out there, all right? And Remy, you're going to love it, and you're going to want to invest, okay? So a bit of background about me. I'm co-founder and CEO of a company named Ampere. My background is a mechanical engineer out of Caltech, California Institute of Technology out in Pasadena, California. My research was in robotics at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I worked for 7 years at Northrop Grumman, a big aerospace and defense contractor, before spending the last 4.5 years building Ampere. So I want to start with a quick story for you, Remy. All right, just imagine. So it was 1 week ago. I was flying in a plane, and we completely shut off our combustion engine. We shut off our engine. We started to fall out of the sky, because that's exactly what you would expect to happen when you're shutting off your engine. But instead of falling out of the sky, we cruised right along. Not only did we cruise, but we accelerated. We accelerated, we flew. We were soaring over the California coastline, fully electric. That is the future. We're not just building today at Ampere, but we're flying today at Ampere. An electric future for aviation, the final frontier of sustainable transportation that until very, very recently had no sustainable future whatsoever. We're building that today. We're flying it today. And at Ampere, we truly are world class in what we do. So at Ampere, we're building planes that are cleaner, quieter, and significantly less costly to operate. They also happen to be hybrid electric. So right now, aviation brings about 2%, almost 3% actually, of global greenhouse gas emissions. Unabated, the aviation sector's contributions will grow over the next few decades to over 20% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions if we don't change something drastically in this industry. Well, that's exactly what we're doing. We are changing that. We're taking a bold vision. Some might call us daring, ambitious, or maybe even crazy. But we are not crazy. We're not too ambitious. We're actually taking a trusted, practical, compelling approach to bringing these planes to market. We're converting existing planes to electric. We're retrofitting them, much like the first Tesla Roadster. That was an existing car retrofitted to electric. We're taking existing planes and converting them to electric. We're not doing this on our own. We've got partners. We're partnered with the most prolific manufacturers in this industry, as well as the most prolific operators. We have an order book that's full We have top technology partners from our full supply chain, EV and aerospace. We have funding from NASA and other governments, like the UK government just awarded us £7 million in contracts just 2 months ago. This is a truly international opportunity. It's not just here in the United States. It's not just island hopping in Hawaii, where we'll be in about a month. I spent 3 months out actually in Norway, looking at fjord hopping there. We have opportunities in island nations around the world, as well as in landlocked places, because this is not only making good, sustainable sense for all these communities, it's lowering the cost of operation. It's good business sense for all these regional airlines and the communities that they connect. It's a $1 trillion opportunity. We're certainly capturing the first corner of that. We've got a business model that scales along with us over the next few years. And so what I would just ask is that instead of next time me being up there just with my flight test pilot when we cut off the engine, I genuinely hope that you can come fly with us someday too. So thank you.
Awesome, huh?
Remarkable. Remarkable. No, there is not much to say. Even though I would like to be to find some criticism to what you said. You said it very well. You set the stage. You tell a nice story about cutting your engine. Introduced who you are, why you are credible about what you do. No question that the market is huge and that this is going in the right direction. There is a lot of sense, a lot of purpose, a lot of things to like. The only point on which I would like to be convinced, but it is not for the first 3 minutes. I mean,
This was, I'm still amazed every single time, and I'm also amazed to see Rémi de Tonac, really an industry veteran from ETF Partners. This is the second time only I've seen him speechless in our programs. The one time when he was talking about Biden's win of the US presidency, which is obviously a game changer for clean technology industries in the United States. And this was the second time, because you have this incredible flow of the presentation. You have, a nice story. We can all see ourselves, sitting in this electric airplane quietly, going through the sky. And I think it's a great example. How do you really get an investor's attention? And obviously, we're also going to showcase some examples where that was maybe not as polished. But also something to understand about Kevin is both of us were incubated at the same incubator in Los Angeles. So we had the opportunity to maybe pitch 4 or 5 times a week. And Kevin always was a very charismatic leader, but he has really improved his pitch over the years. And now he has this this charm while he's doing, this easiness about it. It's just fun to watch, and we want to get excited as investors about what you're doing. And if you do it that well, obviously we'll have our attention. It doesn't really come natural to everybody, so if you have other questions, we're going to be talking about stage fright, for example. How do you present your company if you really don't like to talk in front of other people? Also, there are a lot of things you can do, but practice is definitely a big thing. If you have any questions, drop us a message. We'd be really, really happy to answer them for you if we can in the room of this class or outside in one of our programs. I think that we provide a lot of information out here in order to make you the best entrepreneur you can be. A lot of this hosted on my own website, julienuhlig.co. If you're interested in learning more about our classes, our courses, and everything we offer to entrepreneurs out there to help you raise money to wherever you are in the world. This is an incredible time. You don't have to be in Silicon Valley anymore to raise money. These days you can raise money from anywhere. It's really, truly disruptive time. And for people that used to spend a lot of time and money flying to investor meetings every second day somewhere, this is really an absolute game changer. COVID has really accelerated that process by probably about 10 years. It's my personal opinion. And I know that a lot of co-hosts of mine on EX programs feel the same, big investors from all over the world. This has really been an absolute paradigm shift. And it really is a great opportunity. Probably the best time ever to raise money for a startup right now. I'm quite excited. So Oliver, talking about raising money, where's Philip, our fintech friend?
Unfortunately, he's not online.
Okay.
I've reached out to him, but just sort of sticking with the amazing Ampere presentation, which I will always hold to the best one we've seen so far. Put in point, so everyone can join the class and learn how to do that. Pretty much, it's the case of the fact that the last quarter of 2020, everyone thought that no one was going to invest, and you had around 63 billion VC investment in the US, over 4,500 transactions. But the fundamental aspect is that first impression makes so much and holds such value in that investment. It's so key, and nailing the pitch is so important. And one thing we've seen resonate across the whole series and the whole of the last 6 months is it's quite surprising to see someone that's putting their life and soul into a company and not know their pitch or not understand their value proposition and get focused on what they shouldn't necessarily do. So I think what we're doing here is fundamental for bringing those companies and entrepreneurs to the capital that they need.
Yeah, and I think it's also, we saw this last night, Oliver, I don't know how you feel about this, but we had a Terry Sanders with us yesterday in 3 companies that are actually trying to make an impact in Bali. And it was more this old school feeling, like you could chat outside, you're meeting, you're like creating a different wavelength. So automatically you get more patient, right? You're more interested in telling their story. It's just a human thing. You feel closer. You don't want to offend them. All this psychological things kind of play in there. A lot of that is kind of missing when you do this online. I think it makes a huge difference. We saw it between yesterday, not the clearest pitches we have seen so far, but because they're here and they're likable, it still makes sense. If it's online, I think it's much more brutal. You really have the first 30 seconds to get in there, or people will just simply not listen to the rest. How do you feel about this?
I completely agree, and especially being the person that's meant to keep charge of the schedule and having a 45-minute program turn into an hour and 20-minute program, it's there, but you hit the nail on the head. You don't want to stop them in their tracks, but the same thing is apparent on Zoom. You have to nail your key points in the first 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then you have to cover the problem, solution, ask. Everything that we sort of hone in on your course is exactly what any investor wants to see, especially in the clean tech space. It's not all well and good just solving some social problems. An investor wants to see an ROI. They want to see that you're a commercial business as well as a social business, unless you're an NGO, of course. So it's nailing those points, understanding that the problem and the story is so important, but then again, so is your value proposition.
And what I find, one of the really common mistakes, I mean, of course, if you start a company, I've been doing this for a few years, it's very clear that you know what you're doing. And you might assume that people like me will look at a lot of deals, remember before we get on the call who you are, what you're doing, that we have kind of a concept. That's not always the case. I said Zoom has made it a lot easier to listen to 10, 20 pitches a day. I often have no clue who's coming on next, or if I do, I might confuse it, so I don't even really try because I've got terrible memory. So if you could please do us the courtesy, and one of the first things, like after your name, give us a very brief summary. For example, very important information. Are you a software or hardware company? That already will determine for a lot of investors if you're even a relevant investment opportunity for them. Are you early stage? Are you growth stage? Are you a startup? Are you pre-idea? Just give us, it takes sometimes only one word, but if you say, we're a seed state SaaS company in the field of solving energy management issues for utilities, then I already have an idea of where we are. I got a category and I can say, energy transition. Okay, that's interesting for me. I love software. Or if you say I'm developing, plasma reactors. We're a hardware startup. We're building plasma reactors, deep tech stuff. I also know where to put you. It has different numbers attached to it, and everybody you talk to kind of has their own, comfort zone where they like to be, and the other ones are probably going to not invest anyway, no matter how good you are. So you have to get the information right, who you're talking to, and then please categorize yourself. I know we don't like to think in boxes, and we all want to think that we're like the most creative free spirits and that we're pretty much bringing up our own industry, but generally we really don't. Either you're hardware, you're software, or you're the combination of both. So just let us know at the very beginning so we don't have to guess for the first 15 minutes. That is really something, we see this again and again in startups, that they don't make that clear at the beginning. The second thing is the business model, Oliver, right? I mean, I think the business model and the analytics attached to it is pretty much lacking every single time we talk to a company.
Yeah, everyone explains what attributes they can bring and what the technical background is, but they don't pertain that to numbers, to how they're going to make money or how they're going to save money for their customers. It's the two fundamental things. It's what's the business case and what's your sales cycle. And those are the two questions that every investor always comes back and hones in on every time.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that we pretty much have to ask for this every time. It's like this. It's like a secret information or something that I don't really know why companies are so uncomfortable talking about this. But how hard is to sell? We sell hardware, or we offer software as a service, or we are a consulting agency. There are not that many ways out there to make revenue, right? You can sell the information, you can sell the service, you can sell hardware. And then there are different ways how to structure that. But again, it's very, very easy. So it makes it so much easier for us if you just simply tell us how your business model looks like. You probably thought about it quite a lot, so share it with us. Don't make us guess. Like every time we have to ask for this kind of fundamental information means that you have really not put the most fundamental, most important aspects of your business presentation in this first 3-4 minutes. Probably there's always something you can cut. If you put all the vital information together about any startup, you can still get in there under 1 minute, I believe so. And then you can tell the story and everything else around it. So we also talked a lot about data last week on a program. I mean, that seems to be another problem for a lot of startups. And I remember for myself, always the same thing. You kind of start growing very fast, and then you have to put the things in place to track the data and the traction and the spending and everything else. All of that's really something we almost hear, nothing about, right? I mean, we have benchmarks, numbers, very, very low.
Yeah, it's key. It's what you're going to grow. It's what an investor can see, and it's what you need internally to grow as well. You need to understand that the resources and the personnel that you're putting to a project are valuable and having an ROI. If you don't understand that data, then you can't grow, and you can never use and allocate resources to other projects. So it's an absolute must. And understanding that and applying data analytics to that is key as well. Not just having the data, but being able to read it, use it, and then change and adapt to it.
The other point that we're going to be making in this class, and I hope it's exciting and interesting to you as well, is that I do believe out of all the pitches we have seen that if you can get into building some kind of traction and some kind of revenue before you ask investors, you're always in a much better position than if you really just start with an unproven business concept. If you just understand, not every investor is going to really understand your innovation on day one. They want the market to respond to it. And there can be even a tiny niche market like we just talked here with Piotr like a minute ago about the idea of maybe doing like a micro pilot, really take like a small community and test the product out there and build a little bit of a marketing campaign around that. I love testimonials. We're not an internet get rich quick scheme, but they really work. So if you just do this little program that might cost a little bit of money, and then you have 20 Instagrammers that always say, this was a great service, this worked, I received my commission, I filled affiliate, it was easy for me to use. And you get those people already to get the story out there because they're suddenly now your best friends because you're putting a product forward that helps them. It's great data to have for any investor out there. Just get some revenue and get some traction going, document it well, and then share that with your investors. So, Oliver, with Philip being a little bit late, should we go into one more pitch or interview, or what do you suggest we do next?
Well, we have, I'm absolutely going to butcher his name, apologies. We have Shimrit joining us from Jerusalem in 2 minutes. That's going to talk eco-concrete, which I'm actually quite excited to see because there's an obscene amount of concrete that's being poured in Bali especially. And it is CO2 rich, so understanding and growing that business in a more sustainable fashion is key and vital. And
we're always excited to be talking to companies from Israel, like we're excited about anywhere in the world, but we just simply have seen a lot of innovative high-tech companies coming out of Israel. So most of the time when we do our connection here to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, we get really, really cool stories, and that's what we love. Right, we are up here as well because we love technology, we love innovation, we love to hear from creative people around the globe solving massive problems. And most of the time when we go to Israel, it's pretty awesome, I have to say.
Yeah, very true. Very excited as well for our exventure Israel night that we're pushing back to include companies like this that really come on last minute and make a showcase. It's going to be interesting to see how the pitch is and or how the conversation goes.
I mean, I'm super interested in sustainable building materials for multiple reasons, and it's something that we see every day. We live in a house here, for example, which is built to, it's like, I don't know, Dutch settlers came over here. It's built out of concrete. It's built out of wood. and it just have massive problems. I mean, we live in a place where it rains a lot, for example, right? Where people generally are not, the best in pouring foundations and getting them really, really dry. So the houses here are really kind of interesting to look at from a construction perspective, because first of all, the materials are not very sustainable whatsoever. It's like, we would have done this 100 years ago. And second of all, the foundations pretty much start cracking on day number 2. Tiles are falling off, and now we even have termites eating the roof. It's just, there needs to be something better out there. And we have this now, even our road here to our office, they're finding now put in this little cobblestones, which looks great on day number 1, but we already know people drive their scooters over the cobblestones. It's like parking and everything else, right? So we know that the next big rainfall comes and like 100 people drive over with their scooter. It's going to look like a total mess. So if anybody's out there with great construction, building solutions for very wet, hot climate, please ring us up, because this all makes no sense if you ask me. But I don't know anything about construction, and I just wonder, because we put so much money in it, and like a year later in this climate, everything is kind of destroyed. But that's enough from me. So we're talking to Shimrit in Israel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi there. Great to join you.
Fantastic. You're based in Jerusalem, or?
No, I'm in Tel Aviv.
Oh, in Tel Aviv. Where in Tel Aviv, if I may ask?
It's in the Old North. It's a beautiful park. It's like 5 minutes from the beach. Where
Beautiful. I spent 2 summers of my life in Israel. I had an amazing time there.
Yeah, it's a fun place. Even with COVID, I have to say, it's still nice.
Yeah, I was there during Intifada, and it was a little bit tense, but I had a beautiful time. I really, really loved it very, very much. Great people, and I said, really innovation hotbed. I did something very different back then, but we get a lot of great companies on from Israel. So tell us something about what you do and what your solution is.
eConcrete provides basically ecological concrete or bioenhancing concrete that is suitable for the construction of coastal and marine infrastructure. We're basically providing a technology platform that allows to build seawalls, breakwaters, pier piles, ports, marinas, anything we build in the coastline in the marine environment in a way that also fosters marine life. So we're actually allowing the concrete to accommodate the growth of oysters, tube worms, corals, you name it.
That's really awesome. And where does that come from? How did you come up with this idea?
My background is actually marine biology. As you see, I'm a diver. That's me in the image behind. And what we're doing is trying to offset some of the damages that we've seen that people cause to the marine environment when we develop our cities and our waterfronts. We saw that there's a lot of concrete in the marine environment that's not basically performing as a reef. What we typically saw is that concrete structures have a lot of invasive species, very low biodiversity and very low productivity. And we decided, can we change that? Can we find a way to tweak the concrete in a way that will allow it to grow better marine life, and to do so without compromising any of the performance, strength, or durability. So that was our challenge, and we went into kind of a head-on process of R&D to solve the problem.
If I may ask, is that concrete behind you?
Yeah, that's our eConcrete. It's in the Mediterranean. That's after about 3 years in the water. And you don't see the concrete. You only see oysters and sponges and tube worms. But there's a big armor block there that's actually creating a military port. And that's how we want to envision the future construction in the marine environment, so that it doesn't look like a concrete desert.
How about the cost? Is it more expensive to do environmentally friendly concrete than just pouring in the blocks, or is it about the same? Is a design difference?
There is a premium at the moment, and obviously when we scale, we'll be able to reduce some of that premium, but it's only on the concrete element cost. We don't change any of the construction cost, any of the casting work. We don't change, obviously, the cost of the raw material that's added to our product. We do anticipate to have less of a premium as we develop and scale this. But I have to say that there is a positive ROI in many cases, even if there is a premium, because at the project level, we are often able to reduce the mitigation penalties or to expedite the permitting. and to get a better performing concrete.
Something we talk a lot about in this program is ocean farming in general, because we are based in Bali, right? So we're one of these places where we have 16,000 islands, and most of the farming right now is currently done in really, it's like pretty much right on the beach. So very, very tight limits to it, how much you can farm. Could you create with this concrete like a complete eco environment over time? Let's say you have lots of poles of this in the water, then you got the biodiversity from that, maybe some fish and everything in between that. Is that realistic, or is that really also just for close to like as you say, a harbor project that's very close to the beach or to the seaport?
No, so actually what we've been doing, and we've been doing this for a while, we already have concrete in the water, our concrete for over 8 years. And we've been doing a lot of biological monitoring to see what is the performance of our concrete compared to regular concrete. And what we typically see is us doubling the biodiversity, doubling the species richness, and actually gaining much more similarity to natural reef communities. It can be a coral reef community, or it can be a rocky reef, or even an oyster reef community. It kind of depends on the environment, but we are elevating all of the parameters for both fish and invertebrates. We haven't done a whole lot of work on tropical reefs yet, just a little bit of work in the Red Sea and some in Florida. But we do anticipate to be able to build a kind of win-win solution where, for example, you can have a breakwater structure that's also functioning as a full-on reef. And you can have mooring systems for even marine protected areas that create a habitat value. So that's our vision, basically.
That's super interesting. How does your business model look like? Is this a software, or is this a consulting service? How do you make money and support this great effort?
So obviously we actually have a product. Our product is a powder, which we are providing as an admix component to the concrete. That powder represents about 10% of the cementitious materials within the concrete. So almost like salt and pepper for the concrete, it's low volume. And at the moment we are exporting it from Israel. In the future, we hope to have a couple of other locations for production. And we also provide molding solutions, actual molds or mold liners, so that a precaster in Bali will have our system and be able to use all of the rest as kind of local material and local labor. We are selling also licensing models. So basically now we're shifting towards giving our technology platform to licensees that will be doing the manufacturing, sales, distribution in their territories. And in addition, we are providing services to the project that start right early on in the design or in the conceptual design phase, working with the engineers, working with landscape architects of our future waterfronts to come up with a nature inclusive design solution that also includes our product, hopefully.
That is truly awesome. I mean, I'm really, again, I love every single time we kind of switch over to Israel, we get such incredible solutions out there. I think it's super, super interesting. I think it's a solution we would like to feature for our local government here as well. As I said, we have more and more tourism developments that are really close to the beach and everything else. And I think it would make so much sense to be using your solutions on that, because as I say, what we have building right now, all this, gateways into the water, it's just kind of, there's nothing growing there. It just kind of looks like a total mess after a while. So we'd love to be in contact with you on that. And I think, Oliver, do we still have spot to maybe have this featured on our technology program from Israel?
If they're centralized out of Israel, because they're on their website, they're very US based. So I think we're 100% going to get them on.
Okay, let's do it. Are you looking for investors right now? Where do you stand as a company?
We're actually at advanced stages of an A round that is led by Bridges Israel, which is an affiliate of Bridges International. So we're kind of backed up by impact funding. But we also have in our round kind of construction companies that have a venture arm. The round is still open. There's still a little bit of room. We're raising a total of $6 million, and there's about 1 million still open. So I welcome any interested entities that want to see a new vision of coastal or marine construction happening. We'll be very happy to communicate further.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, just super fascinating. Thank you so much for the story, and we're gonna please could share like maybe the pitch deck with us. I don't know if construction VC is not really something that comes to my mind, like, but we probably have to think about it. But I think it's a great solution. It's definitely something we'd love to see in Indonesia. As I said, there's so much development going on here. There's going to be new capital built. It's going to, massive construction going on there as well. And it sounds super exciting. So, Shimrit, thank you so much for your time, the information. We're going to put your company information on our website, of course. And Oliver's going to reach out to you, and let's try to do a presentation, include you in the best tech companies from Israel. I think it's definitely a story people should hear about.
Thank you so much. And we would love, I wish Indonesia will have pristine coastlines that have no concrete, honestly. But in locations where you really have to protect from tsunami events, from sea level rise, and protect small island communities, I know that there's going to be development, and we'd love to make it better for the environment and better for the communities. Yeah,
I totally agree. And there are some plans out there. I said we still need energy, all these kind of things over here. So there are seaports in the making. It's not, unfortunately, for the environment, not going to get less. But maybe with your help, it's going to be more sustainable than what they're planning right now, which really can look quite awful at the end. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Again, every single time we go back to Israel, incredible solution, Rob. I don't know if you heard this. As we have our guest, are we closing already? Is Rob here to sing tonight?
Yeah, he's going to perform the outro number.
Is he going to do Elvis Presley, or what is he going to do? Or is he here to put on his dance moves? Come on, Rob. Come join us up here, my friend. How are you?
Hey, brother. Great to see you. Great to see you.
What better guest to have to close this up? We got our microphone here. You know the setup? Rob is an incredible motivational speaker, and you do so many things. And he also shares our beautiful studio here. So when we are not on the air on Mondays, that's when we can see you.
SpeakUp Monday, SpeakUp Monday, incredible platform. It's inspirational Q&A where we're able to really let it loose, right? So to grab those jewels of wisdom from incredible people in a way that can be shared for other people to feel inspired, to take action, and to take the next step in their life to become unlimited, right? The unlimited version of themselves,
And Rob has an amazing talent to get that out of people, right? I'm not sure if the format would work so well for me, but you're really, really good at it. I'm just too German maybe for it. I'm too practical.
No, but like what I love about you, mate, is that when you do stuff, you do it in an epic way, and you're fully committed. And it's a rare gift. I find that people like you just go out, you have an idea, and you have a way to kind of envision it, and then you produce it perfectly, which might be the German part, and it's just a great execution. It's lovely to see. I watch your show from YouTube and when I'm at home, and I love watching it because it's really interesting, and you bring like a level of like authenticity but fun to a topic that's really kind of, for a person like me, it's a very serious topic. So it's nice to see the way that you do it in such a way that it makes it accessible for people like me who don't know anything about anything in this area, but we can still watch it and get great value, great insights. And I love it. I love what you're doing, man. It's really good.
I really appreciate it. And we try to make it fun, right? And a lot of, also when we are working on our course, we see a lot of companies that do really fun things, but they give terrible presentations, so it doesn't sound so fun. And then we're going to play that next time because part of our course, we had this lady who was so enthusiastic, and she was talking about wastewater treatment, right? Really about like sensors and wastewater treatment to know if you have any kind of, pollutants in your drinking water. And she did that with such inspirational energy that we're like, man, I want that sensor. And I figured out it was 100,000 euros per sensor later, but it was a great story. But tell us something about yourself, because you have an super interesting life story.
Yeah, like where do I start? So look, I was born in London, as you could probably hear by the accent, and I didn't have the same start as many people. I grew up in 2 children's homes from 6 months to 18 years. So it was 18 years, a long time, but it really set me up to realize how interconnected we are as human beings. I've worked with people like Madonna and the supermodels, had a business voted number 4 in the world, which was a nightclub. And then, then I've come full circle because I've spent time in the company of those people which I say, hey, these guys are very low in life, to those who are like the biggest celebrities in the world. But what I found is, as you know already, as we've had this discussion quite a few times, like we're really all the same. When it all comes down to we want to be loved, acknowledged, seen, heard for who we are. So the work which I love to do is about, inspiring people to build networks, to leverage these networks in projects that uplift humanity, but they've got to uplift humanity. And these are the things which I love doing. And I'm getting a real kick out of it. I'm 51 years of age now, just turned 51 recently. And it's this intention for the next 50 years of like, what am I going to do? Who do I want to be with? Who do I want to hang around? Who do I want to influence? Who do I want to be influenced by, right? So it's a very much more of a conscious effort and direction of, the people I want to be around, like you, right? So I love being around you, man.
I'm not going anywhere.
You have a great, it's a vortex. There you go. You got the Julien vortex. It's a good thing, mate.
What you're really, really good at, and again, something we're talking about, is you have this, what we almost call like a passion power principle, right? Like you turn your passion into something that is powerful, and that is what's driving your business and your recognition and everything you do. You don't write a business plan and say, listen, I want to be an influencer on the island. You do it for the love, and then your concept is the money will follow, or whatever you're hoping to achieve through that project.
Yeah. Spot on. And I mean, it really is that. I mean, like, I remember, I've been around people much like yourself who have made it for what concerns the world, as like, you've made $1 million, whatever it is. And again, money's great. It's a tool. And you can use it to enhance your life and the lives of others. So I think that money's fantastic. But what I've noticed is a lot of these guys are just in this inner turmoil because they think or they believe that they've got everything they should have, that they should have done, but they're really unhappy, right? And it's this understanding of like, how can I, enjoy my life? How can I have fulfillment in my life? And what I find, much the same as you, I'm sure, is that fulfillment is two things. One is fulfilling yourself, and another is fulfilling others. So fulfilling yourself is like, do what you love, do what inspires you, do that thing that you're just like, you work so hard, man. Like most people here don't realize this guy's working many, 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 many hours of the day, along with the guys over here, which are helping him out. But then the other thing is about how can you be in service of others? And the more people that you can touch, the more people that you can reach, the more people that you can positively impact, it changes life for all of us. And one thing I'll say, because I can talk, as you know, I see life right now as like a big, beautiful painting or a batik, which is divided up into a jigsaw puzzle. And all of these, everyone's got a piece which is their part to play. And the way you play your piece is that, number one, you do what you do best. You do what you love, and you dig down, you get good at it, you get the best at it, you master it as best you can. That's the first thing. The second thing is then you trust yourself and others, right? Because a lot of people have this like, this thing is mine, I don't want to share it with anybody. By the way, you're amazing at that. Like you're such a generous person, because I notice when I'm doing stuff or when other people are doing stuff, you're there taking pictures, posting it. You create groups which you allow people like me to have access to. Really powerful. So it's about sharing it, realizing that if I don't share it, it's literally going to be as big as my imagination right here, right now. If I share it, it becomes something much, much larger. And then the last thing is that it's something which is inspiring humanity in some way, shape, or form. So those three things of doing what you love, doing what you're good at, master it. The second thing is about sharing it and trusting yourself and trusting others. And the third part is about how it impacts humanity in a positive way. And this is what I live by.
We got a great example of that yesterday. And Oliver, I'm just putting this down because otherwise forget. I heard a great anecdote yesterday, because you never know how it comes back. Because I was talking to Thierry. He was yesterday with us on the program. I know you were stepping in for a few seconds to watch it. And he wrote a book. He said in the early 90s, he did really, really well in venture capital. And he thought he was going to be like the first one in Europe is going to write a book about it. And he's going to make it really expensive. So he wrote a book in Dutch for 100 euros per book. And he sold exactly 2 copies, right? So he put all this effort into it, and he sold 2 copies. One for 100 euros, and one he gave away for free to KPMG, who then came back and said, we want to license your whole information. We're going to pay you 35,000 euros for it. And so he went on a 7-month tour through Bangladesh with his wife and spent it all. So you just never know. I mean, when you set out on this path and you do something you're passionate about, and you just don't know what's going to come back. And you know, the less you expect to come back, the greater the return might be. And there's something I think we have a lot in common. We just do what we love at this point in our life.
Spot on. And like, you know, it's amazing because, you know, like the show we do on Monday called SpeakUp Monday is based upon two things. One is people inspire people. And whatever you've done, those of you watching here, watching there, people inspire people. So when you look back at your life and you look at what you've achieved or what you haven't achieved or what you love to achieve or what you really want to do, right, it's usually because somebody else has either done it or inspired you to do it. So therefore people inspire people. The other thing I used to say was unity is power, which being here in Indonesia, the slogan of Indonesia is, if I can pronounce it right, is Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. There you go, my first words in Bahasa.
Oh,
right?
Yo.
Slow down.
Probably offended like half of the population right now.
Yeah,
but something,
I think so. But you know, I'm trying. I love it. So that means unity in diversity. Okay. So unity in diversity. And those two things, people inspire people, and unity and diversity are the things which inspire me every day just to do what I do. And I love what I do, as do you. And it allows me to have that frequency and that vibe of just being out there and expansive, like a stone dropped into a pond of still water, where you drop it and the ripples affect the whole. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. And it's a big dent that you're doing with this show and all the things that you do. It's that positive ripple. We're dropping that stone, that intention, and the ripples affect the whole. That's it.
How much do you think age has to do with that?
Because
I feel really like the older I get, the less I give a fuck. I just do whatever I want.
You know, like there was a time where I used to think that, you know, it was definitely about, you know, not age has nothing to do with it, right? And it's just about the circumstances that you're in. Part of me still believes that, you know, but then the other day we interviewed a guy who you know as well, Wahyu, 28 years of age, 28 going on 60, this Indonesian man who's incredibly articulate, bright, smart. He's going somewhere, right? He's got the shoulders to harness Indonesia and push it forward, right? So that's a 28-year-old who looks like a 60-year-old, like feels like a 60-year-old. Now, but those guys I meet more and more, but in general what I find is that, again, turning 51 recently, I do feel a pull towards this like, what am I going to do next? Like, what's the next 50 years look like? The first 50 years were great, made a lot of mistakes, still paying for some of them, right? But I learned stuff, had a great time, and here I am. But how can I use that now to a better effect, more wisely, more consciously, more aware of what I'm doing, right? So to answer your question, I think it's a mix of both, but age definitely it definitely pushes your button, no doubt about it.
You know, I have a little bit younger wife, and every single time, like when it comes to census, right, she disagrees with everything that I ever planned, and she's like, "This is not how you use Instagram." I'm like, "But what makes you think that I care?" It's like literally, like I'm 44 years old. What makes you think that I care how I should use Instagram highlights? Like I use it as a picture wall, like we old people used to do. Like we used to hang up pictures on the wall. I'm like, I think my people like that because they see themselves in a picture, and honestly, they love it. Yeah. Right? They want to see themselves on that picture coming, you know, and it's like a picture wall up there. Yeah. Is it cool on Instagram? I don't give a shit. And I think that's getting more drastic the older we get. It's like, what makes you think I care? I mean, we're just having a blast here. I mean, also, right?
You know, like it's so interesting because part of what I was talking about today and yesterday as well was about this idea that we're unlimited, right? So we're born in this world, and you know, without knowing much, depending on if you believe in vitro intelligence and all the rest of that. Let's put that aside. So you come out of your mummy's womb, whichever way that happens, and you know, so you have this unlimited potential. You have this concept of like, wow, what is this place? Like, what can I do here? And you're unlimited, right? And then the next 7-8 years, that theta brainwave state where we become conditioned by the people around us, our environment, the circumstances, and all of that begin to put the blinkers on, you know, and the blinkers, and then the railway track is like emerging, right? And then you reach 8 or 9, and the RAS, this part of our brain, the reticular activating system, this part of our brain that says, you know, whatever the train tracks you've just spent the last 7 or 8 years building, we're going to build on those tracks and take them in the same direction. In other words, in life, out of all of the experiences that we could find, we're going to lock in and find only those experiences that back up what you've just already started, and then we're going to take you subconsciously on your way into the future without you realizing. That's why it's subconscious. And this becomes your limitation. Now, the conversation I've been having of late with a lot of people is that how do we break that pattern? How do we break that conditioning to the point where we don't give a shit? Because quite frankly, you know, I love your wife. I think she's amazing. So it's got nothing to do with her. It's got everything to do with believing in ourselves. Yeah. You know, and if we have a vision, if we have something that's just burning inside and we just want to get it done, go do it, man. You know, like, go do it. Don't be held back. Look, yes, you can be contributed to and people can offer you ideas, but at the end of the day, you've got to do it your way. And
you have to make the call
you got to make the
very end of it.
You got to do it.
You work a lot with entrepreneurs, everybody on the island as well. Your thing kind of has become helping people write their books. Yeah. Right? I mean, I see you out there, you're doing this presentation with these people. Yeah. Is it still worth it to write a book? Yeah. Should you write a book, and how do you write a book? You got 30 seconds. Great question. Yes. That's a short answer. Right, so what it's about is remember, so I want to influence, directly or indirectly, 1 billion plus people in the next 50 years. That's what I've said. Books, Speak Up Monday, things like this is a way to impact people because you find the gold that inspires them, that they overcame to become unlimited. And that is like the stone that you drop into the pond, which expands and affects the whole. So how do you do this? Cool. How do you do it? There's a process to it, but basically there's 3 steps. Now, the first step is to work out why you want to do it in the first place. So there's a bunch of questions that get to that point, get into that, so you understand why you're doing it in the first place. The second part is called pre-writing. And the pre-writing stage is where you're structuring the book. And literally you're loading up this RAS, this guidance system of your brain, in such a way that it locks in on what it is you want and attracts it to you, and you put that into the pre-writing. Then there's a writing stage, which is really about flow of consciousness writing. So you've got the structure, you understand what's going on. Your RS knows what you need to write, and you write from your emotion. And your emotions, they're not in sequential order of 1 to 20, but in order of the emotions that you wake up with. And literally, that avoids writer's block. It writes for you in a super fast way, and then finally after is the editing. Because I've written 2 books recently, and I'm still working on the first one, because I just started kind of writing different chapters, right, and kind of and put them all together with this kind of. But it's very difficult if you don't have a structure in place to go through the edits, because I'm at like 350 pages, right, and that only covers like one stage of my life in New York City, and it's really kind of like I try to compress 10 years of more shit happening, than most people experience in their life into one story. But now if I have to go back and want to change something, everything becomes like this 400-page rewrite. That's really frustrating. And putting in that effort then becomes kind of so big that you're like, ooh, not sure if it's worth even my time. It's a massive thing that happens, right? And there's a few key things that you need to do that avoid all that happening. The structure is one. And there's a great structure that I've got that maybe not now, but there's a great structure that I've got that helps you with that. And then number 2 is there's a few things you have to reconcile. One of those things is that you need to reconcile if you're going to tell the truth, which sounds really weird, but it is true. I think that's unnecessary. Yeah, unnecessary, right? Tell the truth. The other one is that, when you're done, you're done. Because the thing is that, you see, there's always a way for you to look at yourself in a way which is a little bit egotistical, where you don't think that it should be this way, and you can just get caught in this. It's like analysis paralysis, but it's called editing paralysis. So what happens then if you keep on rewriting, that never ends. Yeah. And you get stuck in that loop. And then the editing, I do this 5-edit technique, and it's really cool because then that allows you to start with one thing and end at the other point and put the book down or pass it on. Yeah.
If you don't do this, then you get stuck in that cycle again of just re-editing, and it never ends. And each time, if you've got 400 pages, well, that takes a long time.
Exactly. I mean, it's a
and,
lot of
and
effort.
you lose motivation, and it's like, I'm done. I wrote my book in 10 weeks, and an hour a day, Monday to Friday, on a mobile phone. And I wasn't even doing voice to text. I was literally just typing it on my phone, right? As a front seat of an Avanza when our family first got to Bali. Takes an hour and a half to get anywhere, right? So 1 hour, 5 days a week, done, 10 weeks. But I did it because I had the structure. Yeah. If I didn't have the structure, then I get lost. And for you, by the way, quick tip, now do 3 books. Don't do 1. So, because what happens is that people just seen a lot of life. It's a very difficult task to then compress that life into 1 book. And that is part of the challenge that we face. So what you do is that you set out from the beginning to do 3. 3 is a magic number. If you look at, Lord of the Rings, you look at all the trilogies, 3 is a science has shown actually that with 3 books, you nail it.
Yeah. I mean, this is also only my 20s. And the weird thing I found when I wrote this book, I've always kind of considered myself kind of a bystander. Like just crazy shit just happens when I'm around.
But it does.
No. But
and you create it.
Exactly. I seem to be in that crazy place statistically